The Hmong people are an ethnic minority group spread across southern China and Southeast Asia. Due to such a diffuse dispersal, the Hmong, or a minority in each country they reside in, have formed a variety of different cultural traits and characteristics that go into their identity creation. Each group faces unique challenges and issues in maintaining that identity in respect to the different nation-states that govern them. So I looked at the different Hmong cultural groups to see what determines what makes the Hmong Hmong, and then looked at how these groups deal with various outside influences that they're subject to and how this affects their identity maintenance. So the Hmong did not have a written language until the 1950s, so their origin is a bit murky. It's pieced together by scholars from their myths and legends to possibly originating in Mongolia. They're recorded in ancient Chinese texts, as the Chinese had contact with them as early as 200 BC. And there was a conflict with the different Chinese dynasties all the way up to the 1800s when the Manchus put enough pressure on them to force the first major diaspora of Hmong who went into Southeast Asia, where you can see on the map where they're spread out in different groups in contemporary times. The scholars divide the Hmong up in color divisions, whereas each color notes the style and patterns of the intricate embroidery in their traditional costumes. Then each color is also categorizes the different dialects amongst the Hmong groups. So some of the significant commonalities of the Hmong are their patrilineal kinship. The Hmong live in a male hegemonic society where women in a household are either wives who have married into a family or daughters who will be marrying out. So as such, daughters are considered temporary family members amongst many groups. So an example of hegemonic society is where if a man marries a non-Hmong woman, then she and her children will become Hmong as part of his family. However, if a Hmong woman marries outside of the Hmong group, then both she and her children will become not Hmong, as they will have no family lineage that they can connect with. Other commonalities amongst different groups are their customs and traditions, such as the weddings and festivals, like the New Year's festival, and funerals. So in Hmong cosmology, death is not the final stage in life, but it's part of a process of endless renewal and rebirth. Or in a Hmong funeral, the shaman makes the rituals and chants, sort of guiding the soul into the afterlife, where after a period of time, they'll be able to call them back into the soul of a newborn. So the Hmong in China are called the Miao, and this is like a generic term which actually encompasses about 3 or 4 different ethnicities in southern China. In Southeast Asia, Miao can be considered a derogatory term. However, it's not. It's more of just a general classification in China as one of the officially recognized ethnic groups in the PRC. So issues amongst the Hmong in China have been assimilation. Most of the Hmong there have been forced to give up their swidden agricultural practices, which kept them in a sedentary or a semi-nomadic lifestyle, moving from different areas to plant crops after the soil was exhausted. So now live mostly in permanent villages, and there's been a lot of intermarriage outside of the Hmong community, which has affected their identity. The Hmong in Thailand still practice the swidden agricultural techniques. However, there's a lot of pressure from the Thai government as they go into the remote areas where the Hmong live to get them to live in more permanent villages, and also to give up their traditional crops in exchange for more modern, economically viable commodity crops. In the 60s and 70s, when the United States was in military conflict in Southeast Asia, the Hmong allied with the U.S. military. After the U.S. military withdrew and the Pathet Lao took over running the country, the Hmong were seen as collaborators, and many of them fled across the border and lived in refugee camps in Thailand. And from there, many thousands immigrated out in another big diaspora overseas to Australia, Canada, France, and in the United States, where there's the largest Hmong overseas communities. Some of the Hmong remained in Laos, where they've been living as fugitives in their own country. There's been a lot of pressure from the Laotian government and military to bring them into control. And in recent years, there's been an effort in Thailand to repatriate the remaining Laotian refugees, and a lot of interest from the human rights groups to make sure that they're treated fairly once they're repatriated back into Laos. So the issues facing the Hmong in Vietnam, whereas many of them were converted to Catholicism during the French colonial period, and in modern times, there's the Vietnamese majority have been trying to integrate the Hmong and other minorities into mainstream society. And some of the steps they've been taking with this is establishing bilingual education programs to help further this integration. So, as I mentioned, there's been a big Hmong diaspora out of Southeast Asia. And in the United States, there's the large Hmong communities especially in Minnesota and in California. So now into their third generation of expatriate communities. These groups have met challenges and have adapted to living in societies whose customs are alien to the Hmong social norms. And this has an effect on the Hmong communities in Southeast Asia, as these overseas Hmong return home either to visit relatives or to reestablish connections with the Hmong communities in Southeast Asia.